think maybe we ask people that too. Ask like the listeners, the viewers, if you had to make $1,000 or whatever the number is,
what would you do?
What would you do? And like when you're oppressed, I feel like people can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And if
when there's pressure on the line, when there's urgency,
a deadline,
when there's something
you have to.
at stake.
Exactly.
Welcome back, everyone, to the School of Greatness podcast. We've got my good friend Chris Guillebeau in the house.
Oh,
my
man. How you doing?
And the star in Chasing Greatness.
Oh, my little 30-second cameo. But thank you.
It was a great moment, though.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
It emphasized. So
it's a beautiful documentary.
Thank you.
So glad a lot of people are watching it. Everybody should watch it if they haven't already.
Yeah. So we just watched the world premiere last night of Chasing Greatness. You were there.
Packed house
Incredible. At the Grove. We've been working on this for a couple of years, and we interviewed you like 2.5 years ago for this documentary.
I had forgotten about it.
You forgot about it?
You sent me the clip, and I was like, "Where? Oh yeah, right." It's good though.
And
so good.
so thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming down. You've got a new book out called The Money Tree, which is funny because someone did a podcast 5-6 years ago called The Money Pillow.
Money Pillow.
And they stopped it.
Okay.
But I
think Money Tree's better, actually, just branding wise. But go ahead.
Yeah. But it was kind of like the Money Pillow was like making money in your sleep.
Okay, that's cool.
So it was like the concept of like how to create passive income.
Right. Fair.
But I like The Money Tree, and it's a story about finding the fortune in your own backyard. Mm-hmm. So how do we build something in our own backyard that makes us money?
Yeah. So this book is a story. Actually, I've done 6 how-to books. Right, 6 nonfiction books. This is my first fiction.
This must have been the hardest one to do.
Well, it was hard and easy at the same time. It was like I never imagined that I would write fiction. I never had an aspiration to do that. But I just started thinking about the characters, and I got this vision in my mind of this guy named Jake, who's the protagonist, and he's this young millennial who has a good job, but also has a lot of debt. And that debt is kind of like wearing on him and becoming soul crushing, and it affects the rest of his life. He's got this promising relationship but not able to pay much attention to it
because he's working so hard.
Yeah, he's working hard, and his job is also kind of at risk, and he's like, what should I do, basically? Like, how do I get out of this situation? And this is so typical of so many people these days with student loan debt, other situations. And so he's like, well, I can just work harder. But he's already a hard worker. That's not the problem. I can get a second job, but most second jobs don't pay good wages. The gig economy, I can drive for Uber, but that's not going to change my life, right?
TaskRabbit.
Exactly. Gig economy, like really not going to do much for you.
Yeah.
So he has to find his own way. He has to like learn how to make money for himself, and so he goes to this group, and together they kind of work on this. There's a lot more to it, but I just started thinking about this guy and his problems, and there's a lot of people who don't read business books for all kinds of good reasons, but they read stories. And so I wanted to tell the story of self-reliance, essentially. So in some ways it's about money, it's about making money, but money connects to self-reliance and to being able to like make your own choices, have freedom for yourself, not rely on a company, not rely on an organization or anybody other than yourself, even if you like your job.
Right.
So that's what that was about.
Self-reliance meaning figuring it out on your own?
Figuring it out on your own, and not just figuring it out on your own, but creating your own security, your own stability, so that you don't have that debt, so that you have options, so that you can do what's important to you, which I know is a big part of the message of the School of Greatness, right? And you can't do that if you're kind of feeling this, weighed down by debt.
What do you think most millennials are dealing with right now the most when it comes to money? Is it just that they're overspending, that they don't understand how to use money, that they don't understand investing, they don't understand saving, tax? Like
none of those things. None of those things.
What is it? What are they missing out on?
They're not making enough money. Actually,
okay.
That's the root of the problem. And so maybe some people are overspending. Maybe they need to learn more about investing. Like that's fine, but those things are marginal. I think like if you have a lot of debt and you don't have high income, you can stop buying lattes, right? You can be frugal and never eat out and all this kind of stuff.
And discipline your life.
Yeah, it's not bad to do that, but are you going to solve the problem if you're $30,000 in debt or $50,000 in debt? Which by the way, this is graduation season. Right, we got 2 million U.S. college graduates. 70% of them have significant student loan debt, and the average debt is like $30,000. So a lot of them could be a lot more. So if you're in that situation, being frugal is not really going to solve the problem. You actually have to make more money. That's what you have to do. And they're also entering this job market, which is a lot different than a job market even just a generation ago or even a decade or two ago. That job market is not going to provide them with high-paying jobs that will provide the security for a long period of time. So they have to do something for themselves.
Why are there
they
not
have to do something for themselves?
And why are there not high-paying jobs out there for people that are just graduating?
Because there's a lot of people just graduating.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of people just graduating. You know, the world has changed. The economy has changed. It's not that there are no high-paying jobs, that there are no good jobs, but I think job security has changed quite a bit. And so when I hear about millennials or Gen Z being kind of, there's a stereotype of like being unreliable or like disloyal and stuff. I think, well, they don't trust the system, right? Because the system has let them down. And they're the ones who have borrowed so much money because they're told this is what you have to do. You can't get any job without a college degree or without whatever the prerequisite is. So they do that, but then they're entering a system that's not looking out for them. So no wonder they're cynical and skeptical. But even though you're cynical and skeptical, you still have to solve the problem for yourself, right?
Which is making more money.
It is making more money. You can't just get mad. You can't just be like, this sucks. It does suck, absolutely. But like in your documentary last night, I mean, you kind of went through this situation of, just like being on your sister's couch and, life was not good in lots of ways. But you couldn't just get mad, right? If you
can, but that's not going to solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. You can get pissed off. I'm mad at whoever you're mad at, right? So you're mad at the government. You're mad at the corporation,
parents or whatever,
whoever it is, whoever that other is. But meanwhile, you still have the problem, and the way you solve the problem, like for you, right? You had to figure stuff out. You started the LinkedIn business. You went on from that, and got your health back and everything.
What about for people that are like, well, I'm just not a money earner. I'm more of an artist. I'm more of a thinker, a planner, but I don't want to think about making more money. I don't have that skill set. So is there a what can you do to learn how to earn? Because for me, I felt like I didn't know how to make money at all. It was out of necessity. It was out of, I'm broke, I'm in college debt, I don't have my father who can give me money anymore. Right. My family's not giving me money, so I can't beg for it anymore. I got to figure this out to survive.
Right. So I think what you need to do is, get away from this model of quote unquote being an entrepreneur, because a lot of people don't relate to that, they don't connect to that, they feel intimidated by that. They watch shows, Shark Tank, great show, but it's all about essentially begging people for money. It's like, I need somebody else to come and give me their approval, their investment, their capital. I can't succeed in my business without this investment. Whereas like the model that I'm trying to put forward, which I've been trying to talk about for years, is there's all kinds of people all over the world who aren't taking any capital. They're not going into debt. They're not spending on their credit cards. They're finding a way to like start their own little business. And it's all, it's all in the book, The Money Tree, but also like I have this daily podcast, Side Hustle School, completely free. Every single day I'm telling a different story of somebody who's found a way to do this. Case study model. How did they get the idea? How did they make it happen? What was problematic, or what difficulties did they encounter? And then how did they, overcome those difficulties and rise to greatness? Yeah.
What's a story in the Side Hustle? What's it called? Side Hustle Show?
Side Hustle School.
School. What's a great story in there that a millennial could relate to if they don't look at themselves as an entrepreneur, they think of earning money as an intimidating thing that they're not going to be good at.
Right.
But that someone had a case study where they took it out with their skill, their talent, and they made some extra money. What's this good story?
So I've got people that range the gamut of like, I've got a lot of artists, people who wanted to like sell stuff on Etsy, and somebody who wanted to sell like dog collars actually on Etsy, starting with this really simple thing, and she actually built that to like $1 million business.
Selling dog collars?
Dog collars, yep.
Wow.
On Etsy.
On Etsy.
Yep, we'll link it up. Like I said, artists, but also coders, any technical skill you have. Whatever skill you have, I think that's also the first step, right? The first step is like this skills inventory. What am I good at? What am I really
skills inventory?
Yeah, not what am I passionate about? What am I good at?
So if you're 22 graduating, what do you think? What are some of the common skills that most 22-year-olds might have from a liberal arts college type of experience?
So I think what you're alluding to is like this question I have sometimes when people are like, I don't have any skills. And I'm like,
what are the skills?
I'm like, you do have, in a 2-minute conversation with any person, I have yet to be defeated in this challenge. I can pull out.
Let's defeat you.
I don't think it's possible. Everyone is an expert at something. That's what I believe. Everyone is an expert at something. right? Whether it's a hard skill, like engineering or coding or something, or it could be like a soft skill. Like, what was the skill that allowed you to succeed with all the stuff you did with LinkedIn? I was thinking about that when I watched the documentary.
I was trying to figure out what were my skills after I was done playing football.
Right, because you played football. Did you graduate from college or not?
I left to play football,
Right.
then I came back to graduate after I was in a cast and surgery and on my sister's couch. I was like, well, I should probably get a degree, even though it was 2008 when the economy was really bad. I was like, I should probably get a degree just to say I finished. I had like 5 credits left.
Okay, but how did you get into this? What was the skill that led you to say, I'm going to be a master connector on LinkedIn and start these groups? And
I think my skill was like, I'm a curious person.
Right.
But it was
So
like,
that
is
is
that a skill? You're
It's
like,
a very valuable skill.
yeah, I was like, I'm a passionate person. I'm curious. I'm a hard worker. Like, I can create a goal and then stay consistent to like accomplishing the goal. So those were the things, but I wouldn't think you could turn that into some money-making
But didn't
machine.
you? Isn't that what you did?
But I did, yeah.
Okay.
But I think
so. Those are traits. Those are traits.
that's called a trait. Passion, curiosity, hard work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the passion, we could say maybe enthusiasm or something. I like the curiosity and the hard work because there's so many things that you could be curious about that other people might never notice, right? But you notice that there's like there's this whole like industry and people have this desire to connect and all that, and then you took action on it, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, I think a 22-year-old has a lot of life experience, and it's whatever they have learned through their education, whatever they've learned through their job, but also just in their life. And like if they're playing Destiny at night, if they're whatever they do with their friends, whatever their friends are asking them about, like they're an expert in something. I really believe that.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a way to like pull it out and transform and adapt it. And the answer is not like go get your MBA, right? That's not the answer.
Go
at all.
spend 2 years, more money to find more skills.
And to learn how to be a middle manager, in a Fortune 500 company, which is that's what's going to show you how to do it.
Right. So what's the answer? If it's not to go get an MBA, what should it be? I've got to make money now.
Right.
I don't know how to I don't know what my skills
Right.
are and how to translate them
Okay.
into money.
Great.
Or a side hustle or a side thing.
Yep. So in the book, the guy Jake, he basically has the same situation. He's like, "What am I good at? I don't know how to, And he goes to this group called the Third Way, and the guy gives him
Third Way.
the Third Way group.
Third way group.
The Third Way, yeah.
Okay. Not the second way.
Nope.
Third way.
First way is like the old school model of starting a business. I write an 80-page business plan. I go to the bank. I get a loan. Right. Yeah. Second way is the Silicon Valley way.
Pitch, raise
Exactly,
investment.
that whole thing. Here's my slide deck, blah, blah, blah. Going to operate
way.
unprofitable. The third way, right, is like, here we are. We don't have access to those resources. We are 22 or however old we are. It doesn't really matter. We've got to make the money, So he goes to the group and he gets this challenge. Jake, you got to make $1,000 in the next week. You got to make $1,000 in the next week. What are you going to do? And first he has no idea, And then he starts thinking, okay, well, I had a college textbook. I had these college economics, textbooks that I saved because I thought I would always use them as reference material, but they've been in his closet, for 6 months. He's never taken them out. So he gets the textbooks out and he lists them for sale on an online auction on eBay, right? Starts making a little bit of money. Then he notices I can actually buy other textbooks and sell them because there's a whole continuous market for this.
Right.
And he realizes he can make $20 to $30 an hour doing that without knowing a whole lot about it, without being an expert. And so then he's like, okay, well, if I can do that, where can I get more textbooks? What else could I sell? And one thing kind of leads to another, right? So he's just like, there is something in front of you you can do. I think maybe we ask people that too. Ask the listeners, the viewers, if you had to make $1,000 or whatever the number is.
What would you do?
What would you do? And when you're oppressed, I feel like people can figure it out. And if
When there's pressure on the line, when there's urgency,
a deadline,
when there's
and you have
something
to.
at stake.
Exactly. So he starts going to yard sales and buying and selling. And he's not, the goal is not for every person to become a professional yard sale reseller. But I would say if you've never made any money for yourself, it actually can be very empowering to make a small amount of money. It feels great.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this,
make
right?
$50 in a day,
Oh,
or
it
$100
feels
in a
incredible.
day. It's like
the first time you sold your course or
it's
whatever.
amazing. You're like, I am rich, right? It just feels great
Feels
to say
so good.
You became an alchemist and you created
Yes.
something from nothing.
Right. So you don't have to
Powerful.
do the MBA thing. You don't have to create my company. It's not about your company. You need to make money, right? And if you
Don't start a company. Don't worry about a logo. Don't worry about a name.
none of that stuff.
Yeah, just make money.
Right. There's something you can do. Start a service, start a product. Lots of different examples in the book and on the podcast.
Okay. So what's he do after that, though?
Well, so he does that for a
The
while.
third way. He goes the third way.
Right. And then, the next challenge that he gets a second challenge. Second challenge is, okay, Jake, that's good that you learned how to do this. but you probably don't want to do it for the rest of your life. The next challenge is to create a service, essentially. So create a service, like the product is reselling, your service is something that you're doing, you're providing for somebody, and they pay you money for that. It could be some kind of consultant thing, coaching thing, advisory thing, expertise, whatever it is, go and create a service. And with that, he has a little bit of a false start. Actually, with that, he kind of goes and the first thing he tries doesn't work so well. I don't want to give away all the secrets, but the first thing doesn't work so well.
Doesn't work. He loses money. He
doesn't lose money. This is the key thing. He doesn't lose money because he's not spending money. It's just a question of his time.
He's losing time and energy,
which is valuable.
But he's learning
through the process.
It's his MBA,
right? Without spending the
money,
the tens of thousands of dollars or whatever. So anyway, so he goes back to the group and they kind of debrief it. Like, why didn't it work, Jake? He's like, well, I thought it would work because, explains all the reasons, and then they kind of point out, actually, you're not really an expert. You thought you were an authority in this thing, but you're really not. And also, the product wasn't really specific enough. The service wasn't really clear, like what you were trying to do, what the benefit was, how you're going to reach people, all that kind of stuff. So he learns this, and then he goes back and creates a different service, kind of applies the lessons from there.
Okay, and that service, I'm assuming, takes off?
Eventually.
Eventually?
Yeah.
Is there another thing after that?
In the last part of the book, there's another thing.
There's another thing.
Yeah.
To take it to a different level.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So there's lessons. I think it's really hard to go from don't know what my skills are, never made any money before, to in the next 3 months I'm going to magically make $1 million.
Yeah, well, I'm not telling people they can magically make $1 million in the next 3 months.
Exactly.
But I would say they can make $1,000 in the next month or whatever, and that's huge.
It's huge.
As we said, that is huge, especially the first time, especially if you're in debt, if you're struggling, if you're trying to figure out how am I going to get out of this situation of desperation. In some ways, I would say almost in some ways, like the $1,000 in that situation is more powerful than the $1 million that comes later, I think, because of the mindset and what it does for you.
Absolutely. What do you think entrepreneurs and employers need to know about how to find the right talent that's coming out of school, and how to inspire and empower them to stay with them? Because I feel like a lot of people say, well, I'm hiring these young people, and then they just leave within a few months. So I teach them, I train them, I educate them, I give them the skills, and they take it and they go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And start their own service.
Right. I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer that because I've always been self-employed.
Sure.
I wasn't good at working for other people,
Yeah.
And I'm also not a great manager. Like, I'm not trying to hire a lot of employees. I would say...
So you have a small team.
Yeah, by design, because I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. And I think, the classic things about like being open to your employees having your side hustle, like providing them free, understanding why they're motivated, because people are motivated differently, as we know. Creating some sense of mission, like we're doing this because, like we're not just doing this because of a sales goal, like that's important in a business, of course, but we have the sales goal because this is how our company is trying to change people's lives. And the more resources we get, the more people will be able to help. I think just connecting to a sense of mission is always good.
Yeah. So how big is your team right now?
I have one person who works for me full time.
Right.
I got a few people who work for me part time. Yeah.
Wow.
And for things like WDS, the World Domination Summit, we have a team for that. But most people are volunteers.
Now you launched this event, WDS.
That's right.
10 years ago.
Exactly 10 years ago.
And it's the final year is happening.
That's right.
Just July.
Yeah, end of June and July.
End of June. And what were your biggest lessons from launching an event? Because you inspired me to launch my event almost 5 years ago.
Which
It'll be 5 years in September.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And I remember just being like, you did a great job of being different than everyone else. And I was like, if I want to do it, I need to be different than you and everyone else. And be my unique thing and bring a community together. So why did you do it 10 years ago? What was the biggest lessons from launching an event series for a decade, and why are you stopping?
I think when I started it, I felt that there wasn't anything else like it. And when I started it, I felt like there were all these people connecting in lots of little micro ways of, going to be a digital nomad, or I'm going to be like an artist or an independent traveler, or, start my little business, whatever it is. Or not even that, but just like I want to live my own life, and like I don't want to do the same thing that, and they were kind of disconnected, right? And like disparate and spread out. And especially like doing your event in Ohio, I think is so important because so many of these people are not in like San Francisco or New York or whatever, and they don't have a connection to like a greater peer circle. So I wanted to kind of, just bring those people together in one place and say, what kind of magic can we create together? But there wasn't like a great strategy behind it. I didn't know. I mean, I called it the World Domination Summit, like I was just, here it is, let's just do it. And then it's been a wonderful experience. I think it's one of the few things that I've done that I can look back and say, like, I think it actually has like lasting value. I don't say that about all my projects at all. I mean, I think it's probably like 1 in 10, that like actually this endures. So I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the team and everyone who's been involved with it. But I think it's also important to end well. I think nobody does that.
Not like, okay, it's getting worse,
Right.
and like
Or
less and
just-
less people are
yeah,
interested.
exactly.
And
Like,
fizzle it out.
There's so many other events now. I mean, there's a lot of other events, a lot of other gathering places for people who are connected in that way. And yeah, I didn't want to just like peter out or just keep going for the sake of going, because I mean, you know how it is. A lot of work that goes into this.
A lot of work.
Right?
man.
More
It's
than
a
people think.
Full year planning and.
It's not just the event. The event is wonderful. It's like everything that leads up to it. And so I thought, let's actually plan for an ending rather than just like have it end. So we announced it 3 years out, 2 years ago now, said it's going to end, in year 10. And interestingly enough, that's brought this revitalization to it, which is so weird.
Everyone wants to be there.
Yeah,
Everyone's
which is
like,
this weird.
How do I get a ticket?
I know it's the strangest marketing lesson. I feel like I should end WDS every year. Right. You know what I mean? Like every year, it's like it's
going
ending.
away.
It's going. Okay, it's back this year only.
Scarcity is the most powerful thing.
I know, it's so
usually.
funny, but I think it's not just with that, it's also with the team, like the core team that works on it. When we said we were going to end it, at the end of every year previously, I'm always worried. I'm like, should I ask them to come back? So they're going to be burnt out,
Right.
I hate it, and like they're so valuable, but I don't want to take advantage of it. But when we said it was going to end in 3 years, like pretty much all of them were like, I'm in. I want to see it through.
Wow.
And so I think that's been really good. And so it does, some parts of me are really sad about it ending, for sure.
It's gonna be over like this, and then how are you gonna feel?
I'm going to feel terrible, actually, but I know it's the right thing.
Why is it the right thing to end something that people love and they want more of?
Because, as I said, nobody ends anything well, and the DNA of the experience is still there. The experience is not like the ticket that I purchase in this city that I travel to and this hotel that I stay in. It's in the relationships, and those relationships have gone on, and like all kinds of stuff has happened out of them, and like, we've had, marriages and families and kids and businesses and all this stuff, and so that's valuable, and I'm gonna keep doing that in different ways. I'm just gonna do different things.
Yeah. Are you gonna be sad? You think the last day, the day after, like the next year when it's the same month?
Yeah, all.
So
I was sad last year, actually, when I was going through the rehearsal. I was like, next year this time, I'm going to
be the last rehearsal.
Yes, yeah, it scared me actually, but.
So I'm going into my fifth year of Summit of Greatness.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of ways to, and last year was bigger than ever.
Yeah, it's hard to keep one of yourself.
It's every time I see photos of your event, there's always some new crazy thing. I'm like, gosh, how does he make any money off of this thing?
Yeah.
You don't.
No, I don't.
Exactly. We don't make money off this thing.
Yeah.
But the energy and the connections are like priceless.
Yes, absolutely.
So what advice would you have for me going into year 5?
You're doing great, man. I don't have any advice for you. You have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say, like, enjoy those moments. Don't forget why you started it. Like, when you get in the place where it is frustrating, because if it hasn't frustrated you yet, it will.
It has frustrated me.
And that's
the
honest.
production side of things.
And that's honest and true, and like you should own that, because that's just the reality. So you just have to kind of remember, like, why am I doing this, right? And it is for the connections and the community, and it's not just for that moment when you're on the stage. That's fun, but that to me is like the 1%, and the 99% is like just the impact and the engagement of people. But you know that.
Yeah.
So you don't need my advice.
What do you think is? Seems like there's millions and millions of entrepreneurs right now, and side hustlers and freelancers. There's, I don't know, tens of millions probably in the USA. A lot of people. But it seems like only a few people really stand out and make a big mark, like whether it be online or get thousands of people to come to an event, or sell 100,000 plus copies of a book. It seems like it's a small amount of people. What do you think it's going to take for people to really break out in their space and as an entrepreneur in any type of industry? But what's going to take them as an individual or their brand to break through?
I think we have to think about impact a little bit differently, because not everyone is going to have, 1 million followers, and not everyone's going to have that kind of breakout success. And that's okay, because they can still have a lot of impact, And I think this is really important, because your goal is not to chase a vanity metric. And if you do that, I'm not suggesting you've ever done that, but sometimes in my life, it's like, oh, I should get more of this, whatever this number, is it book sales, is it this,
Downloads,
Yeah,
followers.
exactly. That's dangerous. And I think a lot of people don't have a huge number, whatever that is, of those things, but they are still making a real impact. A lot of people that have impacted my life. I think about who's impacted my life the most. I think about, maybe we talked about this before, I don't remember, but like the couple that inspired, the couple that made me think about going to live in West Africa. Like, this guy's a doctor, a surgeon in California, and has spent his whole life over there. He doesn't have an Instagram account.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a YouTube channel, nothing. But the impact he's made, not just on me, but on like Scott Harrison from Charity Water, lots and lots of other people. It's huge. His impact is far more than mine, or anybody doing this kind of stuff. So impact has to be measured differently than just that.
It's funny, my friend and coach, Chris Lee, he was in the documentary as well.
So.
He was over at my place before the documentary, and there's a magazine, a Success magazine with like 10 of us on the cover, and he saw my face on the cover with all this group of people. And he goes, "This is amazing." He goes, "I'm more excited to see your face on the cover than if my face was on the cover. Like, I'd rather you be building a platform." And I think there are certain people that impact people who have big audiences, and that's exciting for them.
That's great.
They don't need to be the one.
So they need to remember that. They need to remember that, because sometimes it can be hard.
Because you can impact a few people in a big way that could then change the world.
There's depth to it. There's lots of different ways to think about impact.
Exactly. What do you think is the greatest skill for every entrepreneur or side hustler to get? If they had no skills, like, what's the skill that you should master today?
Asking questions, like curiosity, which you said earlier. Asking, like, what is that? Like, what's, the daily annoyances that we encounter, the problems, the inefficiencies. Asking, like, what could be a different way to do this? What could be a better way to do this? Like, and if you're annoyed by something, probably a lot of other people are annoyed by it too. And so maybe also, I talked earlier about like focusing on skills more than passion. Maybe also thinking about what bothers you more than like what excites you is good. What bothers you about the world?
Because people will pay for a solution to pain.
Yes.
Sometimes
also,
more than they will for pleasure.
Right, and I feel like even like with like School of Greatness, it's I mean, I'd be curious to know like your one sentence behind it or something. But like, to me, it's providing this positive message, but it's also like pushing against something. It's pushing against the notion of mediocrity. It's pushing against like complacency. I'm bothered by being complacent. Years ago, how many years ago was that you were on the couch? Your sister.
10 years ago.
10 years ago,
yeah.
Right? And you were complacent for a time.
Yeah.
And it bothered you. Finally, you realized. Finally, you're like, I got to get up off this thing, right? And
I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right. So it wasn't so much about being passionate. It was like, I am sick of this. I want something more. So I think thinking about curiosity, like asking the questions, and then also like what really bothers me. I think that's motivating.
So would you call that a soft skill then? Like curiosity?
Sure. I don't know if I would label it per se. A skill, a trait, But I think it's something that can be acquired, right? It's something that it's not like something that you go to school for. It's not something innate.
Yeah.
Anybody who's listening or watching this, they've already kind of like raised their hand and said, like, I want to be great. I want to be better than I am. Isn't that greatness, right? Like it's not meeting some objective, standard or threshold. It's like to be better than I am. You could always be better.
Yeah.
No matter what you achieve, it could always be something.
Now, I'm curious about mentorship, because especially we're talking about more about like millennials right now. It seems like a lot of them are looking for mentors. They're looking for people to support them. They're looking for advice, right?
Yeah.
If curiosity is the main thing, you got to ask people questions who know answers.
Sure.
But the people who are mentors are usually pretty busy. They're doing things, and they may not have the time for a millennial.
And they may not be the best person to talk to that person.
True.
I would say as well.
So how does someone find the right mentor or advice when everyone's spreading advice online?
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I say asking questions, I don't just mean asking questions of an expert. Lewis, tell me how to do this. You can also be asking questions of yourself. You can like discoverability or reverse engineering something. This thing didn't work. What's a better way it could work? Just thinking through steps and processes, or even it doesn't have to be waiting for someone to bestow their knowledge from the mountaintop per se. And like, to be fair, like in the book, there is a mentor figure essentially. So it's not like I'm against all mentorship, but I think for a lot of people, when they ask for advice, they're really asking for affirmation as opposed
permission.
to yeah. Or like, what do you think about this idea? Your friends are like, what do you think about this idea?
That's great.
Yeah, that's what they want you to,
Stupid.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And so...
It's a great idea. You should do it.
It's okay. It's okay to know that about yourself and to know, actually, I think I say that I want people to tell me what to do, but I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. I think there's so much knowledge within yourself, within like the human self and spirit, that I think before you figure out, you go on this quest to find the right mentor. It's like, what can I learn on my own?
In my own backyard.
Sure. Right.
Now, what is fears? You were saying that we're looking for confirmation. We're looking for permission from our friends. We tell them an idea. Why are we so afraid to just do it on our own? Why do we need the confirmation of other people in order to go out there and just do it?
I think because somehow this has been ingrained upon us that we don't make decisions on our own, right? Maybe it's through like the education process, maybe through like growing up as a kid, you're always looking to your parents or whoever. So it's not always a bad thing, but somewhere it kind of changes from like, okay, I'm not growing up, but now I have to make my own decisions, right? And so I think traditional systems don't really support independent thinking of this way of life. And that's partly why I've been able to do what I've done is like I dropped out of high school, right? And like I didn't like pursue this path, and I wasn't
in college or no?
I went to college later.
Okay.
Like snuck into college. It's a whole other story.
Wow.
But then like
Did you get a GED or something or what?
no, I went to community college and they never checked anything.
Right.
And then I transferred to like a 4-year institution. I was a transfer student, so they didn't check that.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I actually
Kinda
finished
like
when I was
those
9. It was like a little
loopholes.
hack, but I didn't know at the time. No, I went to graduate school later and everything, but I think because also I wasn't good at working for people. I learned that at an early age also. I was not good at it. I was not a good employee. I had this job. I've never told this story before. I had this job for 2 days as a telemarketer.
Wow.
Like it was the worst. I mean, it's the worst thing.
Horrible.
Yeah, I'm so glad it was so bad because if I had been like mediocre at it, that would have been the worst.
You've been doing it for like 3 years.
Yeah, can you imagine? But I did it for 2 days, and at the end of the second day, like I was just I was terrified to like even dial the number, right? I was like trying to sell like photography portrait packages or something, and like I don't think I sold a single one. And at the end of the second day, like I went to the boss and I was like, you know what, if you need to find somebody else, I understand. And he's like, well, that's good because we already did, basically.
Wow.
I was
So
like,
you're
okay,
fired.
yeah, essentially. I mean, mutual.
Sure.
But the thing I think about now is like, it's not like why did I think that would be a good job for me. It's more like why did I go back the second day? Like why did I even do that? But so I learned at a young age I have to kind of like find my own way, and so I think that was very fortunate for me. So if anybody's watching now and they haven't had that experience, okay, well now it's your time.
Yeah.
There is something you can do. There is a textbook you can sell. There is a service you can create. Don't worry about the MBA thing. Don't worry about the Shark Tank thing. There's something you can do right now.
Now, did you have ever made a decision without asking anyone else's opinion first? On like a project you want to launch, like a book, like I'm doing this book,
always.
And not ask other people?
Well, this book in particular, actually, it's funny because it's fiction. It's my first time to ever do it, so I didn't know if I could do it. I could do it well, and so I wrote the entire book.
First?
3 drafts of it, I think.
No way.
Before, like, my agent saw it, before we took it to any publisher. So, for those who don't know, with like a nonfiction book, you write a proposal, you write like a sample, and then you write the book. But no, we pitched the whole book, and we're like, here's the book, no proposal, like here's the manuscript. I had to do it that way because I wanted to know that I could feel confident about it. I wanted to like, do I actually believe in this work? And so I didn't ask anybody about it. I just did it.
And how was the response for something brand new that you'd never done?
The response is going.
The agent was like, "I love it. It's going to be easy."
I think the main
no-brainer."
response at first was like, "We want to see it. Like, let's see it, right?" But then actually, I got really good feedback about it, and I really am hopeful it's going to reach a lot of people, and not just reach people, but I really hope it's going to help people, to move forward in their lives and make positive changes.
Now, did the publisher pick it up right away, or did you have to go to multiple publishers, or how did that work?
I mean, there was definitely some discussion about it. There was some like the marketing, just how do we frame this? What shelf do we put it on in the bookstore? Publishing is all about categories, right? So there's definitely a little bit of discussion about that.
Sure, but it was fine. They liked it.
Yeah.
They were like, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So did you feel like you needed anyone else to look at it first before you gave it to your agent? Like a friend or a buddy?
No, I mean, I got some feedback. I got feedback. I want to be clear. Like, I wrote 7 drafts of this, first of all, which I've never written 7 drafts of a book ever.
Right.
This is book number 7. Usually I write like 3 drafts. So it's probably the most work I put into a project. But it has been made better along the way, by people who've read it, by my agent, by my editor. So I'm grateful to that.
Yeah, it's great, man.
But no, I don't think people need somebody to say, yes, you should write a book, Lewis. I mean, when you wrote a book, did somebody come and say you should write a book? Didn't you know you wanted to do it at some point? And it was like, when is the right time? So,
But I think a lot of people are afraid to launch something without the approval of other people.
Who gave you permission to start your podcast?
No one.
Who came and said, Lewis, you have the authority to start a LinkedIn course, or a LinkedIn networking meetup?
No one.
And who said, Lewis, now the time is right for you to create a documentary?
No one.
Okay. So I think this is not just the philosophy that needs to apply to Lewis Howes, but to everybody out there. It doesn't have to be a documentary, a book, a podcast. It can be whatever is in front of them, whatever that next step is.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's the big dream? I hate asking this question if you don't answer it, because the summit is over at the end of this year. This book is going to be out. It's going to impact a lot of people, I already know. But now that you're letting go of something, like you're putting this out there, but you're letting go of something for 10 years, are you thinking of like, okay, I'm open to the new space. It's going to allow me to create something. I don't know what it is yet. Or do you have some new ideas that you're already excited about?
I don't have a master plan. I really don't.
It's pretty nice to have that, though. When you have no plan, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's different.
To be in a different space.
It is different because I'm
always planning.
Yeah, I'm always planning. I always have a routine. I mean, I'm doing this podcast still every day, right? I'm going to write more books. I love to do this.
Side hustle school.
Yeah.
Is there another podcast too?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Maybe next year.
We'll see. I'm going to keep doing like the work that I'm doing, but I might have space for something else. We'll see.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's exciting. Well, the book is going to be out. You can pre-order it now. You can get the book. Where can we go? What's the main website for it? It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but is there a site
you can go to moneytreebook.com.
Okay.
Moneytreebook.com. I've actually got this thing called a book registry I'm doing, where any college student.
Getting married?
No, it's not to get married. It's to get a free book. If you're a college student or a recent graduate with student loan debt, we're trying to match people. We're trying to match people who need the book, essentially, with book donors. So you can also be a book donor and buy copies of the book for strangers. And we're using like a blockchain technology. And if people choose to opt in, we can share their information. So you kind of see like who's getting the book and all that. So
if I want to buy 10 books, I can put whatever 100 something bucks in this system at moneytreebook.com.
Yes.
I can put it in, and then it'll give the book to however many people.
And you'll see some notifications. You'll be able to see like where it's going in the United States. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So how do you
see if it works. I mean, this is like the early days of it, but I'm
excited. Figuring out. That's pretty cool. So people can buy books and donate it to kids.
Yes.
To students.
Yeah, and then all my profits from the book registry are going to Teach for America. So for 90 days after the book launch, everything that goes to the book registry from me goes to Teach for America.
Wow. So is this a system that you built? Because
I didn't build it myself, but it was my idea. Yeah. I work with some really smart people. So yeah.
I got to use this for my next book. If it works out.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Okay, The Money Tree, a story about finding the fortune in your own backyard. Who should buy this then, and who's going to get the most value out of it?
Anyone who wants to create greatness in their life. I'm like, greatness, here I am. Okay, but no, let's break it down more. Anybody who's in a situation where they feel stuck. Anyone in this situation. Financially stuck, or career stuck, or just like I'm not doing enough with my life, or I want a different direction. It's a book about change, but it's a story, so it's very readable. I think anyone can read it.
I love that. For me, I get excited when I see this. Each chapter is like a page or 3 pages. I'm like, oh, I can get through it, because when it's 20 pages, it's hard for me. So this is my type of book.
There you go, man.
I love it. Chris, thank you, man. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Lewis.
Appreciate it. This is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you're looking for more greatness in your life, then check out this next video right here.
I'm going to seem like a cheapskate. I'm going to seem like I'm trying to get something for nothing.
So emotional anchoring.
Yeah. Is it a ridiculous idea for us to talk about you selling me your company?